This large, all-black, cylindrical-looking thing isn't what you think it is. It is a 360 camera strapped into a football-looking case, so it actually might have been what you were thinking. This is the Insta360 One X that makes 360 photos and videos accessible to anyone. That includes your auntie that still shoots with an iPad. This is my first camera review, but I can tell you now, it surprisingly makes it super easy and fun to use. So let's check it out. I can't do this. So this is it, a full 360 camera in the palm of my hand, shaped like a Twinkie. Taking a look around though, the magic happens thanks to these two lenses, one opposite to the other, which for a layman like myself is all I need to know how this little guy captures everything in front, behind, and to the sides of myself. It's got a very nice soft matte finish, and given how small it is, fitting within the palm of my dinky hands, you'd be fairly surprised what it can output. There are two physical buttons to worry about. The bottom is used to switch between modes, while the top larger one acts as a record or shutter button. That's it. It's simple enough you're able to pick it up and use it right away, but it also offers enough control you're able to do everything else on the camera as well with a few extra clicks. It's also just very satisfying to click. There's a battery door on one side with a spring latch, and what do you know, a removable battery. A single battery is included, and honestly is more than enough if you're just using this casually. A dedicated battery charger isn't included, but thankfully it charges through a micro USB port and fairly quickly too. Along the bottom, I believe, is a heatsink that doubles as a micro SD card slot, and beside that, probably the most important hole, the screw mounting point. There's also a speaker on the top of the camera that I was silly enough to forget to show, but just know it's there. Now taking a look at the insides of this baby, the camera offers several different shooting modes for photo and video. For photos, there's the regular photos, HDR, and even time-lapse. Like this one that I shot on the balcony of our room in the Marina Bay Sands in Singapore. Yes, that is me getting back from the rooftop pool. I know, even I'm jealous of my past self. They have auto shooting settings that do a good enough job at reading the environment, but there are manual overrides if you like to pretend you know what you're doing. The video options are what excite me though. 5.7K at 30 frames per second for a crispy shot, 3K at 100 FPS for some slow-mo, and even an option to shoot in log. For the most part, none of that should matter to you if you're a casual shooter. Personally, one of the benefits of this camera is that you can pick this up to shoot without ever really having to bother with those settings to get a great shot. Viewing the footage you've taken is also intuitive on the app. Using the touch interface is the best way to maneuver around a 360 footage in my experience, and the app offers plenty of flexibility in reframing, tracking, and exporting the best part of your shots. And so that's a quick overview of the hardware and software, nothing too detailed as you can read the spec sheet online yourself. But checking out some accessories now, this soft clothy pouch came with a waterproof housing to store it in, which we'll check out later, endless amounts of right angle cables, the most important ones being the USB-C or lightning to micro USB cables that allow you for quick and easy transferring of footage. Standard logo propaganda stickers, instructions and stuff, this stringy cable that allows you to swing the One X around for what they call bullet time, but there's a safer way to do that using this, the selfie stick, made of metal with some nice rubber gripping on the bottom, a screw hole as well, and well bam, in true selfie stick fashion, extendable. Combine that with the tripod legs, fold it up, it doubles as a handle, but bing bang boom, and you've got a steady shot. Not only that, the screw sticking out of the side is the better way to do this and achieve this. It's kind of funky, very gimmicky, not something you'll do a lot as you feel really silly doing so, but attaching it regularly gives the legs a true purpose, being able to stand the selfie stick up on its own and use the One X hands-free. Next is one of my favorite accessories, the Drifter, a rocket-looking Nerf dart thing. It's made of silicone with a stiff structure for the most part and allows you to safely do this. Next, the actual dive case, good for up to 98 feet underwater. It keeps your One X dry and usable with the physical buttons, all while capturing some pretty epic footage underwater. I prefer this padded camera insert from Matador over the included soft sleeve. It's good peace of mind for a $90 housing you don't want to scratch up. Lastly, the accessory you'll have to have with you and included freely with the camera, the soft padded sleeve. It's slightly thick and cushiony, soft on the inside, and flexible all around. The One X easily slides in, and those very protruding and exposed lenses are now not so exposed, and it's the easiest and safest way to transport this delicate little Twinkie bar. Plus, the buttons, LED indicator, and even the micro USB port is still accessible, so you can easily charge on the go. These two stay together forever. So your first question is probably, what are 360 cameras good for other than like Google Maps Street View or something? My first scenario is traveling. It captures everything around you, whether it's in front, behind, to the sides. It's even better if you're in group settings to take some pretty epic group photos. My favorite traveling clip was probably climbing all these steps and almost sledding to death. Next scenario is bringing it to events. It's such a niche camera and it's so cool to see it in action. When you pop this out, everyone's gonna be gathering around you, and that's the best time to take one of these epic, cool group table shots. And finally, what I found works great in my creative workflow is using it for B-roll. I've gotten some pretty epic drop test footage, and being a one-man creator, it really helps me capture and not miss anything that's happening in front of me. Plus, if you really need more filler B-roll footage, you can take one shot and kind of split it up into multiple, almost 3 different shots you can see here. Outside of that though, here's what you can actually capture with a 360 camera like the Insta360 One X, mounted in several different ways.
When the only focus is me and weightless, got me feeling like I'm flying. I've been holding on to these dreams, I'm ready to take the leap, 'cause I've been holding that in all stars.
Now, when dealing with a 360 camera like the Insta360 One X here, there are a few things to consider. First off being the low light performance. For such a small package, it's what you'd expect. It's good, but not great. If you only plan on sharing it on socials though, in general, it's fine. And when it comes to lighting, there are some things to consider for 360 cameras because you're dealing with 2 lenses. I will say for the most part, the One X does a really good job stitching these 2 images together. If you point one lens directly at the sun, only that side will get that direct sunlight while the other is in the shaded darker side. So when it comes to shooting 360, there is a right and wrong way to do it. If you want an even image on both sides, you may want to make sure that both lenses are getting an equal source of light, or just shoot it in a more shaded area where there isn't a direct light source above you. Next, the audio isn't the best, but then again, most in-body camera audio isn't great anyways. So if you plan on shooting outdoors, in crowds, or in windier environments, don't expect the audio to be that usable. You're probably better off laying some music over these shots. Now, once you have everything shot, the next thing is editing 360 footage. A few notes on my experience on using the app to edit. First off, it's really intuitive. Secondly, file sizes can be really large, especially if you're shooting in 5.7K. It's something to keep in mind for you 64 or 32 gigabyte iPhone users, if there are any of those out there still. When transferring footage from the camera to the phone, I highly recommend using the micro USB to USB-C or lightning cable. It saves you power on wireless transferring and it's much quicker. There is a desktop editing app available for the Mac and Windows, but I can tell you now, it's not as intuitive as a touch interface. It's still kind of beta-ish, designed for professionals who need batch exporting, and it lacks the app's best editing features like tracking. Next up, as much as I love the size of the Insta360 One X, don't be deceived by that. It feels great to hold, there's a little carrying pouch to keep the lens scratch free, but just remember, this isn't the whole package. You pretty much have to have a selfie stick on you to get any decent shots. Next up, the battery life is respectable with an hour to an hour and a half. Honestly, that's more than enough for me during a day because I'm not shooting more than an hour's worth of 360 footage. In the softshell case though, it is convenient that the micro USB is actually still accessible so you can charge it while it's in your pocket not being used. It is worth noting that the standard battery doesn't do well in cold weather. weather anything under 0 degrees Celsius. I've read many initial reviews and comments about how the camera dies on them when they go snowboarding. So much so they had to release a cold weather battery that can handle up to negative 20 degrees Celsius. So if you plan on going snowboarding or just anywhere cold in general like Canada, you probably want to pick up one of these cold weather batteries. Next and final thing to consider about the Insta360 One X, in my opinion, it doesn't replace a GoPro. Right out of the box, the GoPros are waterproof, they're rugged, and even if you scratch the lens cover, they're replaceable. Generally, you're just less worried about using a GoPro. You can throw it around knowing you'll probably survive. That's compared to the One X where you have 2 protruding lenses to worry about keeping scratch free. The beauty in GoPros is its simplicity. Like a point and shoot camera, you point at something and you kind of know what you're gonna get. Combine that with its tiny and compact size, you can just pick this up and you're ready to go. Whereas the One X, to get a good shot, you need accessories, which makes this a little more cumbersome to use compared to just this. And those are the things to keep in mind based on my experience with the Insta360 One X. Do know, although it doesn't replace the GoPro as an action camera, it's still the best 360 consumer camera on the market right now. That's it, that's the Insta360 One X. It's not a camera you'll ever need, it's more of a splurge purchase. It's around the $400 mark and I highly recommend you get the package that includes the selfie stick. It's not super expensive, but it's enough you'll have to ask your wife for permission to buy one still. That's it, let me know if you've ever shot 360 and what you shot with it, or if you just plan on trying 360 now in the comments down below. I rest my case.